Hi, everybody. Jack O'Malley here with you. Friday's update, and I've really been thinking about this one. What do I want to mention? And yesterday I gave the basic breakdown of the new orders, and I'm not going to go through it all again because numbers are, this percentage of 1,000, and I'm not going to get into all of that. I think, folks, you've heard about the new orders. Questions people ask, are these legal? In theory, yes. I think there's going to be lawsuits, on and on and on and on and on. So I'm going to put that aside for just a minute because I want to focus on something else that I think really gets to the heart of all of this. And I'll start with me. When I ran for office 2 years ago, one of the things I said, and I still believe it, is I am who I am. I have my moral compass. I have my convictions. So there are things that I can't waver on. That's just who I am, and it's what I believe. But I think in this position, as a state representative, as an elected official, I also have to listen to people who we might not agree. And I believe I've done that. What I mean by that is, you and I, let's say we pick a topic. I'm an American League fan, you're a National League fan, and you think that the American League is terrible, and I disagree with you. Well, you might not change my mind about that National League, but you may tell me something that makes me think of something a little differently or approach something a little bit differently. It doesn't change my mind, but you've told me something, you've given me something to think about, and it might affect how I deal with things in the future. All right. And I think that's what conversation, that's what discussion brings together, as opposed to just yelling at each other. And we do a lot of that as a society, especially now. And I know that we've got this COVID situation, and we've got, on top of that, the election, which has got, on a good year, the elections have everybody's emotions frayed. But I want to get back to that discussion of disagreement. With yesterday's order by the DHHS, a couple of things that I think are of note. That restaurants specifically, where they've got like 2% of the cases come out of restaurants and bars, they're being hit again with seating limitations and this idea of contact tracing. This idea probably made a lot of sense sitting around the room. Oh, you know what we can do? We can ask each restaurant to get to contact information as these people come in. Yeah, they can just write down their name and their phone number. It makes all the sense in the world. Might make sense around a conference table, but in the real world, it doesn't. I've gotten calls and heard from folks in the restaurant business that are like, this is going to kill us. Restaurants and bars are already working on a margin. Many of them are already out of business. And the wait staff and the staff as general, they're in trouble. So what this new order has done is once again created conflict. And I think it's our job as elected officials to try and ease conflict whenever possible, right? But I don't think our administration really cares about that. And I'll get into more of that in just a second. So now, what happens if you come into Jack's place and my employee comes up to you and says, all right, great to have you here. I need your name and phone number. And the patron says, I'm not giving you that information. So what happens? The new rule doesn't stipulate. Do I throw you out? Do I call the police? I have someone here who won't give me their name and phone number. Or what happens, and that's conflict. We don't want conflict. What happens if they write down Mickey Mouse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Do I say, you're not Mickey Mouse, show me some ID? No, I'm not going to show you ID, I'm Mickey Mouse. Conflict. Get out of here. Right? The other question is, I've now got lists and lists and lists of people's names and phone numbers. That's personal information. And you're also supposed to put the day and time that you were there. So it would say Mickey Mouse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Tuesday night, 7:30 to 9:30. That's private information. So the question is, how long now does Jack's Place hold on to this information? And what happens if it gets compromised? Who's liable? None of that is in this order because they didn't think about it. So one of the reasons that the governor continued or did what she did through the DHHS is they say that our numbers are going up. So I try to talk to people. And this is where I hope that we all listen to each other, because I try, even though I may disagree with the governor on some things. She said some things that I followed up on because I wanted to make sure. Why? Because that's what I'm supposed to do. And what I heard from hospital people is that they are getting crunched with people coming in. Hear me out before you start spouting statistics and things like that, if you disagree. The reason is they are back to doing elective surgery, so people are in the hospital. They are seeing more COVID patients in. So they are being pressed because they're back, if you will, to normal operation. So they're being pressed. That also puts pressure on their staff because on any given day, you've got people who are on vacation. You've got people who are sick, not because necessarily they have the COVID, but because they ate some bad chili last night. I don't know. So you've got those issues, right? Or they got to be away because their kids got to go do something, whatever. So now you have staffing issues and you're almost full. Those are issues that the hospitals are now trying to maintain. Whether you want to argue it or not, that's a fact. So we do have to deal with that. So I guess this brings me to the point of what I want to talk about tonight. And that is, we hear all the time, we are in this together. I hear all the time, we are in this together. And I sort of kind of believed it. I really did. But the governor is never in this together. Oh, I know some people are now, Jack, you're picking on the governor. You're just a political hack. Think about it. It's just me talking. Think about it. I've really thought about this before I did this. So I'm going to give you a brief history lesson. I've said this a zillion times, but I'll do it again. When all of this came down in March, we were together for about 3, maybe 4 weeks. Then the governor decided to start doing things on her own. She then started doing these executive orders under 1945. The courts said, Madam Governor, you are doing this unconstitutionally under 1945. This whole time, she wouldn't listen to us, right? Wouldn't talk to us. We're not together. We are not together. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say it again. We're not together. She wouldn't listen to us. The courts say, you can't do that, Governor. It's not legal. It's not constitutional. So what does the governor do? She doesn't come together. Remember, we're in this together, I'm being told all the time. We don't come together. She starts to figure out ways to just do what she wants through the Department of Health and Human Services and MIOSHA. Now, before I move on here, just think for a moment. What would happen if she did talk to us and she did work with us? Do you think we'd go, Governor, la, 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 we won't listen to you? No, we're asking, all right? But she won't. Earlier this week, Speaker Chatfield, Senate Majority Leader Shirkey sent a letter to the governor, sent a letter on high. Madam Governor, please, let's talk. Let's work together. And she laughed. Her response from her office was, what? Where have they been? All right. So what happens? 48 hours later, she spits out these rules without talking to anybody. And I mean anybody. How do I say that? I've talked with people in the Restaurant and Lodging Association. They've even said, We were never asked. We were never asked. So we're in this together. If you think the governor is just walking on water and she's telling you we're in this together, then she needs to prove it. Why? Okay, let's say she doesn't want to talk to the legislature. Why not talk to the restaurant and lodging people who she's about to hammer, who are about to go under? Why doesn't she talk to them? I thought we were in this together. And one of the other things that really just stuck in my craw, I'm reading a report, and Director Gordon of the Department of Health and Human Services, who I don't think highly of, because I've gotten to hear him give testimony, and I'll just leave it at I don't think highly of him. He was asked by a reporter. It's a great question by this reporter. I don't know who asked it, but they asked him, Mr. Director, do you have authority to implement these rules? And Director Gordon said, and I quote, I'm not going into a lot of hypotheticals, end of quote. That's not a hypothetical, you dum-dum. That's a straight out question. Do you have the authority to do this? The answer is either yes, no, or I don't know, but I'm doing it anyway. Those are your three answers. There's no hypothetical. Director Gordon, and by extension, his boss, the governor, are not in this with us. They are doing it on their own. And that bothers me. Because I go back to what I thought and how I believe I should act as a representative. I might not agree with you, but I'll listen to you. Why? Because something you may say may alter how I think about that situation. When I'm working on bills and legislation, what do? I bring the stakeholders in, even the ones who don't agree with me. Why? Because they have a stake in it. That's why they're called stakeholders. It's pretty simple. And you listen to them and you say, this is what I want to do. I know you don't like it, but what can I do to make you happier? The governor does not do that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to think we are in this together. But I hate to tell you, I don't think the governor is. She's doing it on her own once again. I'm being told that these edicts through these departments are shaky legal, and they'll probably be fought out in court. And I can discuss why I think that is another day. The ACLU bucked these same rules when they popped up in Washington State. We'll see if Michigan's ACLU does the same. We'll see how many lawsuits pop up. And I'll see if the governor ever really wants to be in this together. It's just the way I see it. You can agree with me or you can disagree with me, but I want you to hear it. You might not agree with me, but maybe I'll get you to think a little bit differently as we move forward in this thing. I'm praying for this state. Oh, I'm praying for our governor. I'm praying for us all. Good night.